Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today's video is the complete guide to the gold Ryal. The full history and the full breakdown on the gold Ryal. What is it? How much is it worth? When was it used? What designs grace these coins? Let's find out. So the gold Ryal was first made in 1464. 1464 was during the reign of King Edward IV, and here we can see the coin. So Edward IV Ryal, this is 120 pennies, 10 shillings or 1/2 of a pound. You can see the king facing outwards from his ship and a lovely design as well to the reverse. Now these are the three denominations of Ryal under Edward IV that were issued. The Ryal, which is the 10 shillings, the half Ryal, 5 shillings, and the quarter Ryal, 2 shillings and 6 pence or 2.5 shillings. Now this is the Ryal. It was also nicknamed to very begin with the Rose Noble. Here is a noble. Notice the very similar designs to the noble, the earlier coin, and then the Ryal, this new coin from 1464 onwards. A little rose to the centre, giving the nickname Rose Ryal. Oh no, Rose Noble to begin with. This is the Ryal though, that weighs 7.64 grams with a diameter of 29 millimeters and is composed of 22 karat gold. Speaking of gold, here are the other gold coins of Edward IV. We see he issued nobles, Ryals, half Ryals, quarter Ryals, angels, and half angels as well. So a bit of a mix there of different denominations and styles of gold coins in circulation under Edward IV. This was, though, to be simplified by his successor, King Richard III, who would simplify the gold coinage in England to just two coins, the angel and the half angel. So only two, and there were no Ryals minted under Richard III. Henry VII next up, though, and we can see here he issued 4 gold coins, reintroducing the gold Ryal and introducing the gold sovereign, along with an angel and half angel. So there we can see 4 gold coins in circulation. There were no half or quarter Ryals, just this one, the 10 shilling, the Ryal, with a rose to one side and a vessel carrying King Henry VII to the other side. So cool design. Now during Henry VII's reign, the angel was favoured over the Ryal, so Ryals weren't very common, but these are the 4 circulating gold coins of Henry VII. A pound was a sovereign, half a pound a Ryal, a third of a pound an angel, and a 1/6 of a pound the half angel. So those were the 4. Now things got a bit more complicated under the reign of Henry VII's son, Henry VIII, because Henry VIII went to town with gold coins, and look at this. There are no less than 10. You can see the sovereign, half sovereign angels, quarter angels, half George nobles, crown of the double rose, and so on. Loads and loads of gold coins issued under Henry VIII. Like I say, there are 10 circulating gold coins. But you may have seen there was no Ryal. Or was there? We'll get back to that. Here are the circulation coins of Henry VIII for gold. Sovereign was a pound, half sovereign was half a pound, angel and half angel were a third and a 1/6 of a pound. The George noble and the half George noble were counterparts to the angel and half angel, issued at different times and interchangeable in terms of value. The crown of the rose was 54 pence or 4 shillings and 6 pence, and the crown of the double rose was 60 pence or 5 shillings, which is basically a crown of today, in terms of 5 shillings being a more modern style of crown. Now I can find no evidence of Henry VIII Ryal coins, but Google has no evidence of Ryals of Henry VIII. AI, no evidence. Coinbook says not a peep. But this is a picture from the Hammered Corner YouTube channel saying, I could not find a photograph, extremely rare, Ryal 10 shillings in the coinage of Henry VIII. So comment down below if you have any more info on this elusive coin. But Edward VI, we can see here, for certain did not issue any Ryals, just half sovereigns, the crowns, angels, and stuff like that. We also have a 30 shilling sovereign, as well as a 20 shilling sovereign, but for definite, there were no Ryals minted under Edward VI. So was this the end of the Ryal? Well, no, because then came Queen Mary I, and we can see under Mary's coinage there of the gold, we have sovereign, Ryal, angel, and half angel, so the same as Henry VII, except her sovereign was 30 shillings, so 1.5 pounds, and then right down to half a pound for this, the Ryal. A lovely, lovely design, some pure artistry going on here in this lovely designed coin, and it was a quite popular coin actually, because of how there was no pound coin, it was 1.5 pounds, so these were fairly well used during the reign of Queen Mary, and had a lovely design there, like I say. Now on to the Philip and Mary coinage. They had a co-rule for a few years, but during this, For the gold coins, there were only angels and half angels used, no higher denominations than that angel. Just those 2 gold coins there, so fairly simple. So there were no Ryals under Mary and Philip. So the Ryal story is a bit of an on and off story, depending on if the monarch feels like issuing them. And Elizabeth II certainly did. Here we can see the coinage, the gold coins of Elizabeth I, the hammered gold coins of Elizabeth I there, and we can see the Ryal. But what's that? 15 shillings. So Elizabeth I revalued the Ryal from 10 shillings to 15 shillings. So it was still known as the Ryal, still minted, still used, the Ryal, but that now meant 15 shillings, so 3/4 of a pound rather than a half of a pound. And we can see the theme there of the monarch on a ship continues for the Ryals of Elizabeth I in terms of the design. They've all been lovely, lovely designs. Now then, James I. Whoa, lots of gold coins again, lots of denominations of James I, but looking down there we can see a rose Ryal, 30 shillings, and spur Ryal, 15 shillings. So there are 2 varieties of the Ryal. Again, that Ryal term being used now for multiple denominations. So the spur Ryal was the same thing as the Ryal of Elizabeth I, with just the 15 shilling face value, moved up from 10 shillings from the medieval times. And again, James there with shield and sword in his ship, looking rather splendid indeed. And notice the other side, there is not really a big rose, lots of smaller design elements. The rose Ryal, so named because there's a big rose to one side, and James is now on the throne rather than a vessel. This was a 30 shilling coin, so this is 1.5 pounds, as similar to earlier, that 30 shilling sovereign, 1.5 pounds for the rose Ryal. And that is it. There are no more. Charles I and onwards did not issue any Ryal coins, so that's where the story ends for the gold Ryal. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and leave a like on this video. Help us get to 20,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. Thank you for watching, like we say, and we'll see you next time for some more coins on Bits and Bobs. Bye for now.